A retired couple in Maitland just lost $15,000 in 72 hours, and they never even moved into the house. 3 years ago, Orlando was America's hottest housing market. Today, it's a graveyard where 1 in 5 deals collapse before closing. Insurance premiums hit $12,000. Mortgage rates doubled, and an entire city is unraveling in real time. Contract cancellations in Orlando reached 19.4%, one of the highest rates in the nation. That's 1 in 5 dreams shattered before the moving truck arrives. Insurance premiums topping $7,500, some hitting $9,200, even $12,000 a year. That's a used car payment every year just to protect a home you barely own. Condo inventory surged 80% while buyers vanished. America's tourist capital is transforming from boomtown to cautionary tale. This isn't the Orlando anyone was promised. But 3 years ago, Orlando was a different world. In 2019, Orlando's housing market moved like clockwork. Median sale prices hovered just under $280,000. Inventory tracked closely with demand. Homes rarely sparked bidding wars. Buyers could negotiate, take their time with inspections, and secure 30-year fixed mortgages at rates around 4%. Migration from the Northeast and Midwest added roughly 1,000 new residents each week. Most neighborhoods featured modest single-family homes and condos with prices that kept ownership within reach for middle-income families. The market remained balanced, predictable, stable, boring. Brokerage meetings focused on steady commissions, not record-breaking deals. Builders constructed homes at a measured pace. Agents spent weekends showing properties to families who had weeks, sometimes months, to decide. Orlando wasn't a gold rush. It was a place where ordinary people could still afford to buy. But the insurance crisis? That was just the beginning. Then the pandemic hit in spring 2020, and Orlando transformed overnight. Remote work eliminated geographic constraints. Workers from New York, Chicago, and Boston poured in flushed with cash. Bidding wars became routine. Agents described listings that drew a dozen offers within hours. The median sale price shot past $320,000 by early 2021, then surged to $390,000 by summer 2022. A leap of nearly $110,000 in just 2 years. The cost of a Harvard education added to your mortgage in 24 months. Mortgage rates under 3% poured fuel on the fire. Investors and flippers joined the chase, snapping up condos and single-family homes. New construction couldn't keep up. Builders reported waiting lists stretching months. Brokerage meetings turned into celebrations of record deals. Brokers hyped Orlando as crash-proof. Local radio ads promised instant equity and urged buyers to act before being priced out forever. By May 2024, something far worse started happening. But beneath the frenzy, warning signs flickered. By mid-2022, the average Orlando household needed to spend nearly 45% of its income on housing to buy at the median price. Affordability slipped further out of reach. First-time buyers started disappearing from open houses. Families who qualified in March found themselves priced out by June. The math was breaking, and nobody wanted to admit it. And the numbers, they told a darker story. By early 2023, inventory began creeping upward. Homes that once sold in days lingered for weeks. Sellers started cutting asking prices, cautiously at first, then desperately. Agents whispered about deals falling apart at the 11th hour. But the real collapse hadn't started yet, because what came next wasn't just a market correction, it was a full-blown insurance apocalypse. But mortgage rates weren't the only killer. Here's where Orlando's crisis becomes a story about insurance chaos destroying a market that mortgage rates alone couldn't break. Insurance agents spent 2023 and 2024 fielding frantic calls as premium notices arrived with eye-watering numbers: $7,500, $9,200, even $12,000 a year for a standard single-family home. Because 7 Florida insurers, including FedNat, St. John's, and Southern Fidelity, went insolvent in just over a year. More than 400,000 policies were canceled or transferred. Carriers that remained pulled back sharply. The state's insurer of last resort, Citizens Property Insurance, became the fallback for thousands. but citizens began reducing its policy count, shifting more than 330,000 customers to thinly capitalized private carriers through forced depopulation. These new policies came with steep premiums and limited coverage, often excluding hurricane or water damage entirely, making them essentially worthless for the very disasters Florida homeowners fear most. In Orange County, non-renewal notices hit nearly 3% of all policies each year. The hardest blows landed in zip codes like 32789 and 32822, where entire neighborhoods suddenly found themselves uninsurable or facing deductibles over $10,000. A single mother in zip code 32822 received a notice that her policy had been canceled. She was forced into Citizens Insurance. Her premium jumped from $3,200 to $9,800 in 1 year. When she called to ask why, the agent told her it was because of risk recalibration. She asked what that meant. The answer: you live in Florida. And then the dominoes started falling. Buyers under contract routinely saw their quoted premiums double or triple before closing. Mortgage underwriters now required binding insurance commitments before approving loans. Deals collapsed when agents couldn't secure a binder, sometimes days before the moving truck arrived. By early 2025, internal brokerage reports tied 12% to 18% of all contract cancellations directly to insurance failures, with some zip codes topping 25%. The governor called Florida a refuge from high taxes. He forgot to mention the $12,000 insurance bill. For many Orlando families, the dream of homeownership didn't die at the negotiating table or the inspection. It died when the insurance bill arrived and revealed the true cost of living in a state where climate risk and carrier exodus have made coverage financially impossible. In April 2024, that retired couple from Maitland signed a contract on a single-story ranch listed at $540,000, with a $15,000 deposit representing most of their liquid savings. Their agent assured them the numbers penciled out. The initial insurance quote of just under $4,000 fit the budget. They set a closing date and started packing. 3 weeks before closing, the insurance agent informed them that the carrier had withdrawn from Florida effective immediately. The only replacement policy available came in at $9,200 a year, with a $10,000 hurricane deductible and water damage excluded. The lender refused to clear the loan without full coverage. The couple scrambled, calling every agency in the city. Each quote came back higher or was denied outright due to the home's roof age. With the insurance contingency period expired, they faced two impossible choices: accept the unaffordable policy and stretch their fixed income to the breaking point, or walk away and forfeit the $15,000 deposit. They chose to back out. The seller refused to release the escrow, citing a missed deadline. Mediation dragged on for weeks before the couple lost the full deposit, erasing years of financial security. What happened next shocked even veteran brokers. Local agents report dozens of similar cases since the start of 2024, most involving older buyers blindsided by insurance shocks late in the process. Mortgage rates climbing from under 3% to over 7% by early 2024 added another crushing layer. A $400,000 home that once required a monthly principal and interest payment of about $1,185 now demands nearly $2,700, a 60% jump in just 2 years. That's $1,000 more per month, $12,000 more per year, enough to lease a luxury car or fund a college semester. The math no longer works for thousands of families. Lenders tighten standards, wary of approving loans for applicants already stretched by rising insurance and property taxes. First-time buyers found themselves locked out completely. But here's what nobody saw coming. By early 2025, the mood inside Orlando's top brokerages had shifted to outright alarm. In May, over 30% of pending deals collapsed before reaching the closing table, a figure that dwarfed the previous high of 19% set during the post-recession years. Nearly 1 in 3 contracts was falling apart week after week. Senior brokers described chaos. Lenders balked at ever-widening appraisal gaps, refusing to bridge the $25,000 or $30,000 difference between contract and appraised value. A first-time buyer couple received their appraisal back, $28,000 below the contract price. They asked the lender to bridge the gap. The lender refused. They asked the seller to lower the price. The seller refused. The deal collapsed. They lost their $5,000 deposit and 6 months of searching. By early 2025, the floodgates opened, because by early 2025, 7 Florida insurers went insolvent, and over 400,000 policies vanished overnight. Families woke up to find their American dream had no safety net. One veteran agent with 3 decades in Orange County real estate put it bluntly, "I've never seen this many walkaways. Most are due to insurance. Either the property can't be covered, or the premium comes in so high it kills the deal on the spot." In April, the cancellation rate hit 19.4%, compared to a national average of just over 14%. By June, zip codes 32789, 32822, and 32837 topped 25% failure rates. Entire neighborhoods became dead zones where contracts went to die. The governor spent years celebrating Florida's real estate boom and touting the state as a refuge from high taxes. He now faces a crisis in Orlando that threatens not just the housing market, but the entire regional economy. State legislators passed insurance reforms aimed at keeping carriers from fleeing, but failed to address the fundamental problem of climate risk. Premiums continue to climb and coverage continues to shrink. The governor's response has been to blame trial lawyers, insurance fraud, and assignment of benefits abuse for the carrier exodus. But those explanations ring hollow for families losing deposits and retirees watching their equity evaporate. But Orlando's nightmare was about to go national. By mid-2025, Orlando's housing supply surged. Active listings up nearly 80% for condos and more than a third for single-family homes compared to the year before. Condo listings alone topped 3,500 units, the highest since before the pandemic. Enough empty units to house a small city and still no buyers. Builders who once raced to keep up with demand now find themselves with rows of unsold homes. Projects slated for completion in 2024 were quietly paused or shelved. A leaked email from a Lennar spokesperson described the company's Orlando pipeline as overstocked and undercontracted, citing a 40% drop in new reservations since the start of the year. Builders once raced to keep up with demand. Now, they're racing to sell at a loss. And then the fire spread beyond Florida. What really concerns analysts is how Orlando's crash is becoming a warning for the rest of the country. The same pattern of insurance chaos, elevated mortgage rates, and buyer retreat now plays out across Texas and Arizona. In Texas, contract cancellations surged to 22%, nearly 1 in 5 deals collapsing before closing. Investor purchases in Phoenix fell 36% year over year, the sharpest drop since 2015. Institutional buyers slashed acquisitions by more than a third in both Dallas and Austin. Analysts point to rising insurance costs, stagnant rents, and uncertainty about future appreciation. The contagion spreading from Florida isn't limited to coastal markets. It's redefining what constitutes a safe real estate investment anywhere in the Sun Belt. Everything we thought we knew about Sun Belt real estate, wrong. Texas thought it was immune. Phoenix thought it was different. They were both wrong, because insurance companies don't care about state borders. They care about climate risk, wildfire zones, and actuarial tables that all point in the same direction, away from the Sun Belt. Texas and Arizona didn't know it yet, but they were next. An investor who bought 4 condos in Orlando in 2021 is now underwater. He can't sell without taking a catastrophic loss. His insurance premiums tripled. His rental income hasn't kept pace. He's hemorrhaging $4,000 per month in negative cash flow. He told his accountant, "I thought real estate was supposed to be safe. Texas thought it was immune. Phoenix thought it was different. They were both wrong. And Orlando? It became the blueprint for disaster. Orlando's collapse isn't an anomaly. It's a preview. And the governor? Silent. DR. Horton's regional office offered deep incentives, mortgage rate buydowns, free upgrades, even cash at closing, to move excess inventory that drew fewer takers each month. What was once the promise of instant equity has become a race to avoid foreclosure. Orlando's transformation from boomtown to cautionary tale took less than 3 years. The pattern is clear now. Insurance collapses, buyers retreat, inventory piles up, prices crater, And politicians blame everyone except the system that created the bubble in the first place. Texas, Arizona, Nevada, they're all watching Orlando and pretending it won't happen to them. So what happens when the Sun Belt becomes the sacrifice zone? Subscribe so you don't miss the next shocking chapter.